Welcome all to my channel and to my very first video. This is both a spoiler and non-spoiler review. The non-spoiler review are my final thoughts on the movie and is in the latter part of this video, so just click on the time code in the description to skip ahead. Second, check out Tyrone Magnus' review and subscribe to his channel. Everything he said I agree with and more. Also, whether you're an upcoming filmmaker, screenwriter, or just a lover of movies, check out my favorite movie channel, Filmento. Both links are in the description below. So I'm going to go over what I liked and I didn't like, talk about my favorite character in this film. Hint, it's not Sub-Zero and it's not Kano. The character I hated the most, and it's not Cole, even though he is a close second. Also tell you the character I think got the short end of the stick and the actor that was also treated the same. And lastly, give you some of my recommendations for some similar movies which I really enjoyed.
Spoiler review starts now.
Tyrone Magnus mentioned that the movie looks like it was shot by two different people. I 100% agree. In fact, I'll go even further and say it looks and feels like it was almost filmed by two different camera crews, as well as choreographed by two different teams. This director's featured directorial debut really shows in this movie. The first 7 minutes were pretty good, and the whole dynamics of the scene, the camera angles, the intensity, great choreography. This scene is an attention grabber and I'm fully invested in the entire fight. And then we get to Mihan and Hanzo's fight, and this is where the movie shows its hand, and I knew right away this movie is not going to go as well as the opening scene. The entire feel and dynamics takes a completely different turn from here on out. It feels like someone else shot, choreographed, and directed this scene in comparison to the first scene, and this is one of my major gripes with the film because the entire film is like this. Different scenes feel and look different and out of place from others.
Fight.
Lewis Tan is a great martial artist, but he's still lacking in the acting department. His dialogue delivery is consistently flat, regardless of the scene and situation. His character was just unnecessary. His addition added nothing to the story and his acting just made it worse. However, the fault lies mainly with the director, and this is why I think Lewis Tan got screwed over the most. So many other game characters Tan could have been, and I believe he would have killed it. I would have been fine if Tan later became a Scorpion. Instead, he was given an unknown character that was just written to lack anything interesting. He either needed help in defeating an opponent or he needed his armor, which, by the way, is dumb as heck. Lewis Tan is far more capable of what he was given in this movie. An actor will only give as much as the director demands, and the movie made Tan's character, the main character, as bland as can be. None of the characters got the respect they deserve. Each of these characters have a rich backstory that would have made for such a more interesting movie if they only focused on fewer fighters. I actually like that there was no tournament in this movie, but it was such a missed opportunity to get me to care about any of them and finally leading to the tournament likened to an Avengers Endgame build-up. The tone of the movie is also inconsistent. There are times in which the movie comes off as a low-budget show and then to a high-budget movie and back and forth. Take this scene of Sub-Zero. It was suspenseful, ominous, and this scene alone, even before Sub-Zero fought anyone, really set him up as a character that commands the screen and my attention. I wanted more of this, less of this. And finally, the scene I absolutely hated and made me cringe. The Kung Lao soul-sucking scene. You have two fighters here who just stood around and did nothing. Stopping someone from saving another is such an overused cliche and is just lazy writing. Liu Kang could have just fireballed Shang Tsung's face, or Cole could have tackled Shang Tsung or did something. Anything. I would have understood if Cole and Liu Kang were knocked out or hurt and were physically unable to help. Some would say it would have killed Kung Lao anyways if the process was interrupted. We've all been in that one soul-sucking relationship.
Idiot.
Kung Lao would have been fine given some time. Which brings me to the character I hated the most, Raiden. Absolutely useless in this movie. He could have easily saved Kung Lao but didn't. Raiden had zero active role in this movie and storyline.
I will not bring fighters. I will bring armies.
You will return to Outworld at once.
The other person which we actually saw his tragic story was Jax. This was another missed opportunity for a great story arc of this character. In the past, we saw Hanzo's tragic story, and that was enough to get us invested in him, even with the little time he had on screen. Jax should have been a tragic story we connected to in the present, but I barely cared. His comeback story should have been the Victor Stone to Cyborg, or Murphy's to Robocop. I had no investment in his tragedy and character because I didn't get to see his recovery.
The entire outer skin will be like this.
It's titanium, laminated with Kevlar.
Go ahead, shake his hand.
I take my orders from...
No challenges in figuring out how to master the use of his new arms. His recovery was just basically magic. Besides from just dying, it seemed like any serious injury can be magically healed or explained off screen going forward. By the way, I'm pretty sure Jax's face and head were busted open, and yet another off-screen magical healing. So much else I could go on about, like the rest of the other characters or other scenes, that made me double check if I was watching a YouTube satire. But I'm sure there are plenty of other reviewers that already covered it. Now on to what I did like. I liked everything Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
I still grieve my wife and son.
I'm not so cold as to mock your pain.
A wise choice, Sub-Zero.
But the fight scenes only between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, not including their weird pre-costume fight. I also liked how their special moves are integrated into the fight choreography. Scorpion's spear move, Sub-Zero's ice wall, and ice clone were done so quickly it came off natural and didn't look forced. Sub-Zero and Scorpion should have been the main characters in the storyline. Now overall, the movie also underdeveloped Kabal, just like the rest of the fighters. Even though he was barely in the movie, he caught and kept my attention from his very first line. And that's because Kabal possessed something far more interesting than the other champions: personality. Kabal had more personality showing from behind his mask compared to Cole's zero personality showing his face throughout the entire movie. Kano was also great, but I expected his character to be the way he is because it just carried over from the original Mortal Kombat movie. And Kabal just looks awesome. Kabal would fit perfectly in the Star Wars universe. All in all, the movie was still entertaining, for the most part. Some cool fight scenes and some horrible fight scenes. The reason I think I was able to sit through the movie, regardless of its mediocrity, is because of the lighting. Clean CGI, not perfect, and vibrant colors. It's a similar trick used by McDonald's and other businesses to attract customers. The use of colors and lighting tricks the brain into keeping my interest, regardless of the product. It worked on me, at least for the first watch. The story and underdeveloped characters and mistreatment of some characters is what will keep me from a rewatch, especially the cringe scene. My biggest disappointment with Mortal Kombat are the missed opportunities and potential of all the characters. I wish the movie would have just focused on a character or two and build from there. Cole as a main character was more of a distraction from what the movie set up from the beginning, with the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. That is the story I wish they had told. The movie tried to set itself up as an origin story, yet it skipped so much after Hanzo's death. If the intention of the movies was to set up anything like Justice League or the Avengers, then they've already missed the mark. Because if the movie is willing to kill off characters so easily, without any emotional attachment to the audience, and magically healing injuries, then there are no real stakes at hand. If someone gets hurt pretty badly in a sequel, the movie has already conveyed the message that it's no big deal. Using my 3-tier Marvel meter, I'm using a comparison with the Marvel movies because the MCU has a good mix of great films such as Infinity War, Endgame, Winter Soldier, just to name a few, to my least favorites such as Iron Man 2, Thor the Dark World, and so on. And then the rest of the Marvel films in between, I would rank Mortal Kombat just below tier 3. Besides Sonic the Hedgehog, maybe the recent Tomb Raider, and even the original Mortal Kombat, good video game movies are non-existent, and Mortal Kombat didn't change that for me. So here are some of my favorite movies that may better fit the bill. They're not video game movies, but in a similar category of fantasy and martial arts. In Dragon Tiger Gate, you can't go wrong with a Donnie Yen movie. Even though this was released in 2006, it's still an entertaining film that still holds up today. With fast-paced action, great cinematography, and a good story and great characters, It basically looks like a video game movie, just better. Check it out on Netflix. Second is a live-action adaptation of the anime Rurouni Kenshin. Released in 2012, this trilogy also holds up very well today. Great action, great martial arts, and very entertaining sword fights, and all 3 parts are great. Just to give you a heads up, part 4, Rurouni Kenshin the Final, is coming out next month, so make sure you catch up on the trilogy first. This is also a Warner Brothers release. Unfortunately, it's not on HBO Max. Look for it on Amazon Prime. And the last bit of related news, Ubisoft. Yes, that Ubisoft is coming out with Werewolves Within.
I know it's easy to get caught up in the fear of the situation. I know it's easy to point the finger and fear each other.
A movie based on their video game of the same name should be hitting theaters early July. Well, that's it for now. It took me too long to get this first video out, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know who your favorite character was in this movie, and which character you hated the most. Until next time, see you then.